Leviticus chapter 25. The Lord spoke to Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and tell them, when you enter the land I am giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. I'm your Lord. Yeah. For 6 years, sow your fields. For 6 years, prune your vineyards and gather their crops. But in the 7th year, the land is to have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. Do not sow your fields or prune your vineyard. Do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the grapes of your untended vines. The land is to have a year of rest. Whatever the land yields during the Sabbath year will be food for you, for yourself, your male and female servants, your hired worker, the foreigner living among you, as well as your livestock and the wild animals in your land. All its produce may be eaten. Count off 7 Sabbath years, 7 times 7 years, so that the 7 Sabbath years amount to 49 years. Then have the trumpet sounded everywhere on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the day of atonement. Sound the trumpet throughout your land, consecrate the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you is to return to your family property and to your own clan. The 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. Do not sow, do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the untended vine. Do not sow, do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the untended vine. For the jubilee. For it is a jubilee, and is to be holy for you. Eat only what is taken directly from the fields. In this year of jubilee, everyone is to return to their own property. If you sell land to one of your people or buy land from them, do not take advantage of each other. You ought to buy from your neighbor based on the number of years since the last jubilee. They ought to sell to you based on the number of years left until the next jubilee. When the years of many increase the price, when the years of few reduce the price. For what is really being sold is the number of harvest. Do not take advantage of one another, but fear your God. I'm the Lord your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to obey my laws, and you will live safely in the land. The land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill and live there in safety. You may ask, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not plant or harvest our crops? I will send you my blessing in the 6th year, so that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant during the 8th year, you will still be eating from the old crop until the harvest of the 9th year comes in. The land must not be sold permanently, because the land is mine and you reside in my land. As foreigners and strangers throughout the land you hold, you must provide for the redemption of the land. If one of your people becomes poor and sells some of their property, the nearest relative is to come and redeem what they have sold, if they have no one to redeem it. But later prosper and acquire enough to redeem it themselves, they ought to calculate the years since they sold it and refund the balance to the one to whom they sold it. Then they may return to their property. Jubilee for you.
But if they do not acquire the means to repay it, what was sold will remain in the possession of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. It will be returned in the Jubilee, and they can then go back to their property. If someone sells a house in a walled city, they retain the right of redemption for a full year after its sale. During that time they may redeem it. If it is not redeemed within a full year, the house in the walled city becomes the permanent property of the buyer. It is not returned in the Jubilee. But houses in villages without walls are considered part of the open land. They may be redeemed and must be returned in the Jubilee. The Levites always have the right to redeem their houses in the towns they possess. If a house belonging to a Levite is not redeemed, it must be returned in the Jubilee, because the houses in the towns of the Levites are their possession among Israel. But the pasture land belonging to their towns must not be sold. It is their permanent possession. If one of your people becomes poor and cannot maintain themselves, help them as you would a foreigner or stranger, so they may continue to live among you. Do not take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God. so that they may continue to live among you. You must not lend them money at interest or sell them food at a profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If one of your people becomes poor among you and sells themselves to you, do not make them work as a slave. They ought to be treated as a hired worker or a temporary resident. They ought to work for you until the year of Jubilee. Then they and their children ought to be released, and they will go back to their own clan and to the property of their ancestors, because the Israelites are my servants, whom I brought out of Egypt. They must not be sold as slaves. Do not rule over them ruthlessly, but fear your God. Your male and female slaves ought to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents who live among you, and members of their clans born in your land, and they will become your property. You may pass them on as an inheritance to your children after you, and make them slaves for life. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. If a foreigner or temporary resident among you becomes rich, and one of your people becomes poor and sells themselves to the foreigner or to a member of the foreigner's clan, they retain the right of redemption. After they have sold themselves, one of their relatives may redeem them, an uncle or a cousin or any blood relative in their clan may redeem them, or if they prosper, they may redeem themselves. They and their buyer ought to count the time from the year they sold themselves to the year of Jubilee. The price for their release is based on the number of years reckoned as payment for hired work. If many years remain, they must pay for their redemption, a larger share of the price paid for them. If only a few years remain until the year of Jubilee, they ought to calculate that and pay for their redemption accordingly. They ought to be treated as workers hired from year to year. You must see to it that they are not ruled over ruthlessly. Even if they are not redeemed in any of these ways, they and their children are to be released in the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites belong to me as servants. They